Alright, how's it going, guys? It's Dobie, and today I got a story that's semi-interesting, really funny. It happened about 10 years ago, and I still laugh about it every time I think of it. And basically, what it is a story about how I ended up getting detention every single day for an entire school year. But first, before I get into that, let me just say this is Gun Game on Ambush. Yeah, I know there's some pretty embarrassing moments in here. I'm not a pro. I'm not even good at this game. I'm not here for the content. I don't even know why I'm here, but you got me, so deal with it. Without further ado, let me get into how I got detention every day for an entire year. So this happened in 3rd grade. I had a friend named Chandler, and Chandler was excused every day early because he had to pick up a family friend of his who their mother entrusted him to pick him up and then take him home after the day was over. So one day we had a sub for our class, and me and my other friend Brock, we figured that we would tell the sub that we also had the privilege of leaving early in order to help Chandler get this kid home. So we leave our pod. The way my school was structured was there were pods across the school, and each pod had like 4 or 5 classrooms for each grade level. And at about 45 minutes before the day was over, me and Brock and Chandler, we get up, we tell the sub, hey, this is something we're supposed to do. And for reasons I don't understand, the sub said okay, and she didn't even question us. Like, not only is that story sketchy if one person tells you, but if you have a group of friends that are telling you, yeah, I get to leave school early, you should probably be a little, I don't know, on your toes about that. But anyway, we go from the 3rd grade pod to the 1st grade pod because he was younger than us. And we get there, we get him out of the class, and we are bored because, you know, there's nothing we can do. We're not in college, we can't just walk out of the school. So we go to the little sports pit where we had all the balls. We get out a soccer ball. We're just kicking that around. It's hitting off lockers. It's hitting the doors to the classrooms. And I guess we made enough noise to where the teachers called down to the office and said, there's kids just running rampant through the halls, which was true. We were definitely supposed to be in class still. But eventually school ended, and my mom is a teacher, or she was at the time, she's the principal now, but she was also a 3rd grade teacher, so she worked closely with my teacher. I would go to my mom's room every day after school, and I would play computer games, I would jump rope, whatever was in at the moment. And I walked into my mom's room, I got on the computer. About 10 minutes later, my 3rd grade teacher comes back from wherever she was, and she tells me, hey, you disobeyed rules, you took advantage of a sub, you're gonna be punished for this. So my consequence was I had to come back after school instead of my mother's room. I had to go into her classroom, and I had to do the what in high school is called bell work for most people. I don't know what it was called at the time, but it was the activities that we did in the morning. And now that I am in college and I have a functioning brain, I am aware that she was just using this consequence as an excuse to get out of her work. Like, literally, she used me as her slave, and if some teacher told me to do that today, she'd receive a dick slap across the cheek. But I don't know, I'm over it now. Well, not really, but I have to be. I can't do anything about it. Well, I got that was supposed to be for 3 days, okay? 3 days, I do my time, and I'm out. I can just go back to my mom's room after that. So, the punishment started the next day. After school, I went into the room, and I started doing the assigned work. It was stuff like figuring out what the temperature is, counting by nines, you know, the complicated stuff. And Everyone else is out of the room, including the teacher. It's just me in there at that point. Everybody is either in their bike line, their car line, or their bus line, depending on how they got home. And I all of a sudden hear the door open. I turn around, and there's this kid named Will. And throughout high school and middle school, elementary school, everything, nobody really liked Will. And that's because Will was kind of a dick. Like, I know it sounds bad, and I know that sounds bad coming from somebody who had detention every day for an entire year, but he really was. Like, you could try to be as nice as you wanted to be to him, and he would still find a way to, I don't know, insult you or try to insult you. He usually said something kind of irrelevant that didn't make sense, but you knew what he was trying to get to. And I walk over, I tell him, hey, I'm just supposed to be here, you need to go. And he completely ignores me. He kind of stares at me, gives me this look of death, and I just kind of figure, okay, I'll let it go. I walk back, I start doing the work, and then just randomly out of nowhere, he plugs his ears and then starts singing these nursery rhymes. And I feel like this is some kind of like American Horror Story Insane Asylum person. I'm kind of getting scared. I walk over, I say, hey, you need to leave. I'm not really in the mood for this. And he was somebody who I didn't like. And you know how when you don't like somebody and they do something that you don't like, they kind of push you even further, and then emotions can kind of get the worst of you? Well, my book bag was kind of in reach. I reached over, picked it up. It was a one strapper because those were like the shit back then. But I picked it up by the strap, and I did this like WWE overcut with my backpack, and I hit him across the head, or over the head, sorry. And he didn't really do anything. I think he was too afraid to like respond in any way. But somebody who was in one of their lines out in the hall saw it, and I think he is the one who reported me because I think the other guy who was Will was definitely too scared to do anything about it. And yeah, I didn't like the guy who reported me either. I went to a school with a bunch of cucks. I went back, I did all my work, and the job was, once I did all my work, which took probably about a half hour, I could just go back to my mom's room, and then my mom would just do whatever she needed me to do for her. And I did all my work, I went back to my mom's room. About, I'd say an hour and a half later, I was gonna say 2 hours, but that seems too long. About an hour and a half later, my teacher comes in the room, which is kind of worrying considering I practically assaulted somebody and the teacher kind of put it off for an hour and a half. But anyway, she comes in the room. She has this kind of look on her face that I've never really seen from a teacher. I haven't seen it since then either. It's kind of like panic. I don't really know. I think she was scared to tell my mom because my mom was kind of like the head honcho of the third grade teachers. And anyway, she had a conference with my mom. I got kicked out of the room, and then I came in. They each handed me their own little consequence for me. My mom punished me at home. She grounded me indefinitely, which, if I remember right, ended up being like 2 weeks, which that's probably the longest I've ever been grounded. Usually it wasn't that bad. And my teacher's consequence was I had to come back and I had to be her slave again every single day for the rest of the year. And this was only like 2 weeks into the school year, so yeah, I spent a lot of time in that classroom. And I don't know, I guess if there's a moral to this story, it's if you're gonna like WWE Super Slam somebody, make sure you do it where nobody else can see. Other than that, I don't really think there's anything to take away from that. But I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed that story. I might have a couple more I can dish out if this does well. But yeah, thank you guys.